सेव किया था ना?
मैं सिर्फ इसलिए गया था क्योंकि उसने मुझे कॉल किया. That's it. But listen though.
Save it for someone else.
जिंदगी में सेव करना जरूरी है, मगर जब बात पैसों की हो, सिर्फ सेविंग से काम नहीं चलेगा. इक्विटी म्यूचुअल फंड्स में इन्वेस्ट कीजिए और अपने सेविंग्स को आगे बढ़ने का मौका दीजिए.
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents.
I'm with Najeeb Jung, former Lieutenant Governor of Delhi, Lieutenant Zameeruddin Shah, former Deputy Chief of the Indian Army from 2006 to 8, and Saeed Shervani, a former member of the Congress Party and the BSP. And today we're talking about a very unusual interaction between the RSS Chief Mohan Bhagwat and these intellectuals or members of the Muslim community. So, gentlemen, welcome to the Print Debates.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Jung, may I start this debate with asking you the first question? A month or so ago, a few weeks ago, 5 of you, 3 of you are on this discussion with me, met the RSS chief, Mr. Mohan Bhagwat. My question to you is, why did you meet him and what was the result of your meeting?
Jyoti, this was an extension of our earlier meeting. In fact, Mr. Shervani and I had met Mr. Bhagwat in 2019 itself. And we wanted to continue this initiative. Unfortunately, because of the pandemic, further meetings were stopped and I was traveling and so on. Mm-hmm. Now, and we believe that it is necessary to have these meetings for the simple reason that communal relations are exacerbated, that there is need for rapprochement, better understanding, and need for the two, not the Muslims and Hindus, but also Christians and Sikhs, for all of us to walk the path together. And after much debate, we thought that recent incidents that had occurred were further exacerbating the problems. So it was time to meet him again and renew our contact. In our first meeting, in fact, we had met with great warmth and understanding, and he in fact had assured us that he would like to take this forward. We had appealed to him in that meeting that perhaps it's time that he appealed to the communities, because this is one voice that is heard in India. That he appealed to all communities for better understanding and peace, and he indeed promised, and he delivered, because subsequent speeches he made were a new line for the RSS chief,
right?
And this was a continuation of that. We wrote to him, and we had an appointment on the 22nd of August, maybe 3 or 4 weeks after writing to him.
Mr. Jung, what I'm interested in knowing is that, did you ask to meet the Prime Minister Modi, on these very questions of concern that have arisen and confront you?
No, step by step, Jyoti. This is our first meeting with the RSS chief. We've discussed ways forward, how to move along. We will have further meetings with his consigliaries and ourselves. And we have thought amongst ourselves, and we decided that we would indeed want to meet the PM.
But that's my question. Why not the Prime Minister? Why the RSS chief? I mean, in a sense, Mr. Mohan Bhagwat doesn't really have any real power in the country. He's not in government. He's not the head of the state. Why him?
That's your understanding. I think Mr. Bhagwat is the head of one of the largest organizations in the world, and perhaps a man whose word is heard in the Hindu community and the non-Hindu community in India. So I think that we had to take him along, and particularly after our first meeting with him, we were extremely encouraged. So we are taking that part first. I mean, there is nothing right that you have to meet X first and Y second.
Okay.
We believe that he has a role to play, that he can inculcate confidence in the minorities, that he can show a light to other people. And therefore, I think we did this. Now, let's the next step forward.
Okay. Saeed Shervani, can I come to you and ask you, you belong to a Congress family why meet the RSS chief? I mean, aren't you both ideologically at poles apart?
Jyoti, first, I had resigned from the Congress in 2013.
Mhm.
I just want to make that fact before Modi Saab came into power. So I resigned a year ago. Before that, yes, you're right. I grew up in a Congress family, very proud as a family that had fought for independence and for a united India. And I grew up learning that RSS was actually a bad word. Uh, None of us gave it importance. We believed they were a bunch of old people with outdated thoughts. And look, in 2022, what has happened? In 2022, they are a very important organization. And like Jung Sahab said, they have captured the imagination of a large segment of our population and they have a voice in today's government as well as in the community, largely in the community. And therefore, I wanted to find out what they are about myself. I did not want to just believe what I have been told all these years, because there must be an organization that has grown, that has over 2 crore members, that has such an influence in our day-to-day lives and in our future. It needs to be found out about themselves. So I wanted to meet and hear what they are about, what are their thoughts, because I also, like Jung Sahab, was very concerned, and like General Sahab, about the deteriorating Hindu-Muslim relationship in our country. And without talking to and having a dialogue, I felt we were just sitting, commenting in our drawing rooms, talking amongst ourselves. We lived in an echo chamber, and we believed what we grew up believing, while India had changed. One of the more important reasons is that if today those who are in power is because the people have voted for them in large numbers. People have some kind of belief, so there are some reasons for it, and it was important that we talk and find out what they are. What is the thing? I have, my friends, I grew up in India, I have grown up Hindu. My most majority of the Hindus. I needed to find out for myself that what can be done, what is these reason for these differences, and what does the RSS think about Indian Muslims? What is their view on them? How do they think that we can work together or not? And I was very happy that when I was included in this delegation, and we all could go together with such credible people and to talk to him. So
And General Shah, can I come to you and ask you, when you met the RSS chief and you've had a conversation, as Mr. Jung said, this was in late August, but do you trust the man?
Well, we've got to trust him. My military training shows that you've got to attend to the center of gravity first. And one of the reasons why I've been pressing, let's go in for the center of gravity, that's Mr. Bhagwat. He has almost 2 million cadres who listen to everything that he says. And of course, I had met him earlier in a book launch, in which he spoke about, the building bridges. And this was where he also mentioned that the Hindus and Muslims of India have the same DNA. And he brought out several aspects. So I highlighted all these after the book launch, which happened last year in August. Mm-hmm. And after meeting him, what struck us immediately when we entered was the stark simplicity of his office and the fact that he was absolutely punctual. He came dot to the second at 10 o'clock. That tells a lot about a man. And he's a very good listener. He patiently heard us out, projected the problems which he had in mind against the sort of behavior and policies the Muslims were pursuing. And we also told him what our problems were. Basically, it was stemmed from the resolution of the Dharam Sansad, which said that they would make India a Hindu Rashtra. We've got no problems with that. Let me tell you, because it is
You
my
have no problems with what? That India becomes a Hindu Rashtra?
with them declaring a Hindu Rashtra. It already is. That's the way I view it.
Okay.
But Hindu Rashtra doesn't mean that that we are disenfranchised with the Dharam Sansad wanted, and we told him that. And what Mr. Bhagwat said, and he sort of gave a reassurance that they are hotheads in both communities. These are hotheads, but everything in India, everything which will proceed, which will be according to the constitution of the country.
So did he say that India is not a Hindu Rashtra or will
No,
not?
he's always been saying at the book launch, he said, "ये मुल्क हिंदू राष्ट्र है." He's made he's made it loud and clear. And okay, so what? I mean, the majority community can dictate terms, but also give us the rights ensured in the constitution. That's what we are looking for. That's what the Muslim community is looking for. Call the country what you like. Another thing which he mentioned is that you all are Hindu Musliman. So I pointed out to him and I told him, you yourself said, if you don't like this term, call yourself Bharatiya Musliman. And he shook his head, and I think he accepted my point, because I told him Hindu Musliman has a lot of religious connotations. Bharatiya Musliman has nationalistic connotations. I mean, we are Indians and we are Muslims, plain and simple. So my impression is that he's a well-meaning individual. He has his people who are against his attempts at rapprochement, but I'm sure that his influence and the weight he carries will make sure that whatever he says will be followed.
Okay, Mr. Jung, can I ask you and pick up on General Shah's comment on the Hindu Rashtra? Did you, when the three of you or the five of you, when you met Mr. Bhagwat and this comment on the Hindu Rashtra, what exactly was it all about? Can you just talk about it a little bit more, please?
No, I don't think there was much discussion on that at all.
Okay.
In fact, it was a remark in the passing. It is not that something that is being insisted on or being underlined. The point he was making is, please understand, we must all live together and call yourself what you will. In fact, he explained in detail the wider connotations of the Vedic religion, which is all-encompassing and which will give space to all of us, meaning Muslims, Christians, and Sikhs, that in the Vedic concept of practice, of religious practice, all are acceptable, and therefore we should have no reservations in understanding where he's coming from. So I don't think that we should labor on this point of Hindu Rashtra at all. It was not his intention to labor that point, and it was not a point that was widely discussed at all. It's something that was made in passing, so I would not underline it in the sense that it would upset anyone. He made a comment, and we said fine, and we'll talk about it, because as there are many issues to talk about. This was just a conversation, and we have to pick up from the conversation various points of understanding and misunderstanding, and then proceed on.
So what were the key points that you raised with him, with Mr. Bhagwat?
Let me first tell you his points of concern, because they are extremely critical in carrying this dialogue ahead. And like I said, he said that we in the Vedic religion accept everyone. So you guys as Muslims can do your namaz and roza and hajj, etc., etc. We have no objection to that. Likewise, we have no objection to Christians going to the church on Sunday and praying in the way they want. The problem, Jyoti, arises in the Abrahamic concept that there is just one God, and my God is the right one. And that's the point of conflict, because his point is that all paths lead to the same God.
Right.
There is no difference. And so there is no difference. It's only a question of misunderstanding, because like we said, that the Quran is also very clear that there's no compulsion in religion. I'm quoting the Quran, that there is no compulsion in religion, and to your belief is yours and mine is mine. So, selective reading of the Quran has caused a lot of misunderstanding amongst other communities, and that was a point that he made. He also said that look, there are issues. For instance, we think that the cow is very holy to us, is very dear to us, but there is a lack of sensitivity in other communities towards how we look at the cow. So you must be sensitive, and therefore, and that I think is a very valid point. And we raised this question of unnecessary aggression that the general said about the Dharam Sansad and so on. And he clearly and categorically said that I do not approve of all this, that we have to cautiously move along to curb this, and I am taking the initiative. He, however, underlined that this is a long haul, this is a long process, it's not going to be done overnight, and he has limitations. I mean, everybody in the world has limitations. So he acknowledged that, and he said, we are moving in the right direction, and you come along.
Saeed, the question to you is, over the last 48 hours, there have been several developments. I mean, Mr. Bhagwat himself has gone to meet the head of the All India Imams organization, Mr. Umar Ahmad Ilyasi, and that was quite interesting, the mosque in New Delhi, in the heart of Delhi. There's also been a crackdown on the Popular Front of India, the PFI, allegedly for its support to terror links. Now, what do you make of this? So on the one hand, would you say that there is Mr. Bhagwat who has been, who's seeking this, who is responding to this outreach of the Muslim community, but on the other hand, other things are happening?
Well, I cannot link the two, Jyoti, because simple reason: one is an action of the government and law and order, and the other is an action of an organization chief. I don't see a link between the two. I think it's a continuous process, and in that process, I didn't know when I met him that he was going to visit this mosque or meet this organization or the chief of the imams. That was not known to me, so that came through the papers and media as it comes. And also, that PFI is going to be raided. What it's been raided for? What is it? What are the things they found out? But if a government has taken a certain action, well, I guess they may be having something on their files, and this needs to go through the normal process of law.
General Shah, the same question to you, which is that the fact that Mr. Bhagwat went, he's responding to this Muslim outreach of yours by going to meet the head of the Imams organization, and at the same time that the government is raiding the PFI, which is a predominantly Muslim body, allegedly for its terror links.
I think the visit to the madrasa, to the mosque, and interacting with the madrasa students is very, very interesting and a very positive development. Jyoti, I cannot comment on the PFI. I know very little about that organization. But if they've been up to criminal activities or anything anti-national, well, the government is at all liberty to take action against any organization which they perceive or which they have proof is anti-national. So I really cannot comment whether the two are linked. But I see a positive development in Bhagwatji's outreach program.
Mr. Jung, the question to you is about in the last several years since the Modi government came to power, since 2014, 8 years now, there have been a lot of incidents, specifically lynching of Muslims. Then there is, one controversy after another every week. The Gyanvapi Masjid, the Gyanvapi complex in Banaras, that is now a raging controversy. Did you talk about these specific instances? Did you express your concerns, especially about Muslims being picked up, whether it's students or just men, who have been accused of eating beef? Did these questions come up? Did these concerns come up?
Jyoti, in an initial meeting, you don't discuss specific issues.
Okay.
We discussed the larger question of improving relations. We did, of course, mention that the Muslims are a very concerned lot. There is a feeling of insecurity that must be addressed, and it must be addressed by the Hindu community. Because, as I said, and I said to him, and I reiterate in Hindi, I said कि आपको ये कहना होगा कि हिंदू समाज मुसलमान समाज का बड़ा भाई है, और हमारा वरद हस्त है आपके ऊपर, that will only give confidence to the Muslims. And that was the line that was taken by him and by us. Of course, like I said,
which is
that
what, the
we
Bada
said,
Bhai and the Chota Bhai, Hindu Samaj being the Bada Bhai and the Muslim
no,
Samaj.
that's the general line of discussion.
Okay.
That we should take along. We did mention, our concern that you can't call these guys jihadis all the time. They are very much Indians.
Mr. Jung, the question to you is a question that I've asked before to your co-panelists. Do you trust Mr. Bhagwat?
Jyoti, this was my second meeting. I would not have encouraged the second meeting had I not been very happy with the first. I have no doubts on his sincerity. The warmth and the generosity with which he met us, and the openness with which he spoke and what we discussed is beyond expectation. These are a group of 5 people who were landing up to speak to him. There was no reason why she should give us an hour and a half.
Mm-hmm.
We had only anticipated, that he'll listen to us and give us half an hour, but which turned out to be a regular discussion on many issues, and then agreeing to a forward path. So
What is the forward path?
Well, he has nominated 5 or 4 very senior people to talk to us, and we are planning to discuss this further. Maybe travel in the country and talk to people like you and others, and convince them that the path forward has to be equitable, has to be just. And he did say that without taking the minorities along, India is not going to progress. So a man of that stature, when he makes these statements, and look, we have to trust and move on. You can't say that, why are you trusting somebody without trying him? He's a very senior man. He gave us time, and he was extremely open. So, there were questions which my colleague, for instance, Yaqub Qureshi, discussed with him, that you have this misconception about Muslims, get population growing at a faster pace. And Yaqub very clearly told him that mathematically he's done a mathematical model that's not possible. He gave Bhagwat Sahab his book and indeed a pamphlet which showed, how the Muslim population is growing. And Bhagwat Sahab laughed at that. He enjoyed seeing Qureshi Sahab's book. So it's a very congenial, nice conversation. We discussed a forward path. So I think that's a lot of hope.
General Shah, the question to you is, do you think that Mr. Bhagwat, while there is a path forward that all of you have discussed, but do you think that the RSS chief will be able to send this message across down to his own cadres, to the RSS cadres?
Yes, he will do it cautiously, as he's been doing in the past, because there is some sort of opposition, although that is weak. But I am very, very confident, Jyoti, trust begets trust. And we got to trust somebody. We can't say we don't trust him. I, of course, have yet to judge him. And whatever little I have read, of course, he has backtracked on some issues, but I understand the reasons why.
Like what?
He has to move slowly and convince his cadres who they are susceptible to a lot of propaganda and the hate speeches and other things which is the media has been carrying. So he has to overcome all those difficulties. But I'm certain that he is absolutely clear in his mind that all sections of the population of the country have to be taken together to put their shoulders to the wheel. That I'm certain about. And without, as he said, 20% of the population joining in, I'm afraid progress will not be possible. That is the main reason I see that he will try and convince his cadres to follow the line he's advocating.
But what is it that he's backtracked on?
Oh, see, in the he spoke about the DNA and other things.
Mm-hmm. What about the DNA?
The Muslims and Hindus having the same DNA, and such things. Then he went off, and in Guwahati he gave a speech talking about the rapid growth of the Muslims, especially in the border areas, and the way they are to be dealt with and such things. So these were issues which I felt was something which needed to be attended to before these things are projected. So, as I said, he has to move very cautiously, Jyoti. He is the supremo, but he has to move very cautiously. This hatred has been so ingrained by the hate speeches and by the media that he has a tremendous task ahead of him, but I'm sure he'll not budge, he will not move away from his conviction that everybody has to be taken together.
Saeed, the question to you is that a lot of other Muslim leaders, particularly people like Asaduddin Owaisi, very respected member of parliament, has scoffed at your meeting, at your interaction with the RSS chief. And there will be other voices like that. And, people must be allowed to say what they think and they feel. But so do you think that this is that Mr. Bhagwat is perhaps playing good cop, bad cop in a sense, which is that, the response to your meeting was a good one, but perhaps outside the meeting, other things are happening?
No, I didn't understand your question. I think there is apprehension from both sides. I mean, there are Muslims who are opposing this, two gentlemen who are opposing Mr. Bhagwat meeting these five nobodies, as they say, or has been, as they say. So, I mean, there's going to be opposition. If there was one thought, one opinion, we wouldn't be reaching here. We wouldn't find the need to talk, or there would not be any issue. This is a vast country. It has 200 million Muslims. It has many, many, many more non-Muslims and Hindus, and everybody doesn't think the same. And therefore, when there is such a crisis as it is, as I see it now, a mistrust and a misapprehension and lack of confidence in each other, the only way out is dialogue. If there are differences between people in one family, I mean, you may be four brothers, you may be having property dispute. How do you solve it? Either you sit and you chat about it, talk out and find a solution, or you go to the courts. You can fight on the streets, but that's the least desirable of the alternatives. So I think it is important that that dialogue has started. Nothing can happen in one dialogue. We are just trying to find out, like I told you, I went to find out what Mr. Bhagwat and RSS was all about. And if in 1 hour meeting or 1.5 hour meeting, the impression I have come back with is that they are equally concerned about certain issues. But the years of my upbringing and the years of what I had heard about them is going to take time. So the trust is built step by step. You climb a ladder one step at a time. And I think you can't start from the top. You have to start from the bottom. So it's on both sides that there will be misapprehension and carefulness. And those people who are commenting on this, I've been used to now in the last 6-7 years being labeled. I've been labeled anti-national and secular. And now I've been labeled elite. And I welcome it. It's least of my problems.
So, Mr. Jung, did you get the sense that Mr. Bhagwat was also seriously concerned about the situation in our country?
Of course. That's why he took so much time. That's why he brought out so many points of concern that he has, so many points of concern that the Hindu community has. Like I said, your concept that you're not accepting our way of worship, etc. Why would he, if he was not sincere and serious? The fundamental question, Jyoti, please, I want to convey is that a man of that stature doesn't waste his time on 5 gentlemen walking up and coming up with something. He has thought this through, and he has told this much to us, that we want peace. There has to be rapprochement, a confidence building measures have to be taken. I am happy to walk the path with you, and India must walk this path if it has to progress.
But what I don't understand is that it is his government that's in power, his government that's won elections for the second time. They've been in power for the last 8 years. What is he so concerned about?
Why? Any sensible person is concerned about what's happening. You are concerned about what's happening. I have friends who are concerned about what's happening, and I'm sure people in government are concerned about what's happening. It's only the time and the modus operandi that it takes to get things in order. Look, every government functions under certain compulsions. This government is also there to win elections. After all, you can't sit back and say dono achhe, bhaichara, and expect to win.
Okay.
So, unfortunately, whether we like it or not, a measure of polarization has come in, which is becoming advantageous. We shouldn't shy away with that. But that has to be fought. And that is the attempt that Mr. Bhagwat is making.
No, so are you saying that this polarization, it's not like India has not witnessed polarization before between Hindus and Muslims, but is this exceptional, what's happening today?
It's certainly much more than what was before. It's certainly, there's no doubt about that. And everyone is aware of that. You are aware of it. I am aware of it. We can't and shouldn't push it under the carpet. But that is exactly what we should fight. And that is the effort that we are making. And it's just not Mr. Bhagwat. Like I said, we will seek time with the PM. We will put our point of view to him, because he is the man who's really going to take the bull by the horns. I have always said, and I've said repeatedly, that the persona of the Prime Minister is very tall. It's very tall in this country. And once we are able to convince him that, look, there needs to be a change of course, then I am sure things will improve.
Okay. General Shah, the same question to you. This government, Mr. Mohan Bhagwat's government, well, it's not his government, he's the RSS chief, but the RSS is the mother organization. The BJP has been in power for the last 8 years. Why is Mr. Bhagwat, in your view, so concerned about the situation, about the polarization that we see every day?
Well, he pointed out to us that there are two separate bodies, the government and the RSS. By that, he implied that I really cannot interfere with what the government does. But I'm certain that the way things are developed, you see the barometer of the way the country is going can be gauged from what you see on WhatsApp posts. Mm-hmm. And on the Twitter and other things. I am certain that he gets a feedback on that, and he has judged the degree, or the chasm between the two communities, and I'm sure that as a nationalist who loves this country like all of us do, he is very concerned, and I'm very, very sure that he will attend to bridging the gap of what he perceives to be a widening gulf between the two communities.
So last questions to you, gentlemen. Saeed, the question to you is, what happens now?
I just wanted to add something here. Jyoti, you know that I have been canvassing a lot during past elections. And one of the things that encourages the politician to say something is when he gets a lot of claps and when he gets a lot of cheer, and it resounds with the people. And if people's hearts get together and they stop clapping at some of the most hateful things that are said during election campaign, the politician will be forced to change his figure of speech.
But can I say here, Saeed, I mean, you were once with the Congress party. You said you left it in 2013, but you remained in politics. You were with the BSP also for some time after that.
I left all politics 2014.
Well, once
I didn't find myself going anywhere. I liked politics. I enjoyed politics, but I found myself going nowhere, and I found outdated about it. And I felt I could contribute.
The question is, right. No, the question was about the Congress party. Now, the Hindu-Muslim polarization, or the politics of vote banks that we talk about in our country, and those are very real concerns, was something that the Congress party has perfected. So would you say that it's not just the fault of the BJP where to take this polarization and to exacerbate it?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this something has not come about in 5 or 6 years or 8 or 10 years. I think this is the same people. The population of Hindus and Muslims in ratio was the same in 50. We had huge population displacement. We had huge amount of people losing their life. We had terrible riots in 1947 when the country was partitioned. And yet, for 30, 40 years, we lived in peace. We did not see this kind of polarization, even at such upheaval, after such upheaval. So what has happened till the 1980s, this very BJP as Bharatiya Janata Sangh never won 2 seats. So what has happened in this last 30 years that this change in this people have taken place? What has happened to the hearts of the people? Why have they changed? There must be something that needs to be talked about. There must be some genuine grievances on both sides. There must be something that needs to be solved, some irritants that need to be moved away before we can go on progress with and I believe that everybody, the common Hindu and Musliman, does want peace, does want India, has the same kind of aspirations for its from its country, and therefore we need to get this out of the way, and dialogue is the only way forward.
Mr. Jung, the last question to you. What happens now? How do you take this forward?
Jyoti, Saeed has hit the nub of the problem, that the problem exists, that it has been exacerbated in the last 30 years. Let's not push it under the carpet. And so if we take the bull by the horns, we will talk about it. We'll talk about it openly. We'll talk about the cancer in society. We'll take it to the people of India in smaller groups and larger groups, whichever way it happens, and try to make them understand that the way out is not disagreement and hatred. The way out is the Gandhian message. The way out is what Swami Vivekananda had said, that in India, I want a Vedantic body, a Vedantic mind and an Islamic body. This is Swami Vivekananda. So we are joined at the hip. You can't operate these twins from the hip and separate them. Let's understand that. And the people who are arguing against this must be made to sit with us and understand that we will not allow this to happen if we love the country.
So, General, the question to you is that, the question of lynching, especially over beef, the eating of beef or the carrying of beef, did this subject come up in your conversation with Mr. Bhagwat?
Yes, he was very concerned. He told us the sentiments of the Hindu population towards cows. They worship them. And he said this illegal slaughter and eating of beef is a criminal act. And we agreed with him. And I gave the example of Sir Syed, where in Aligarh Muslim University, he prohibited the cooking and the consumption of beef, basically because he did not want to hurt the sentiments of the other section he wanted the sentiments of all sections of the university to be attended to. And I think that was a very good tradition which continued, and of course now it's illegal. But I'm certain that the bulk of the population will listen to our appeal not to carry out, if at all they are, any illegal slaughter or consumption of beef in places where it is prohibited.
Yes, sir, go ahead.
Jyoti, beef to the Muslims is not at all something that is important. It's only a very small, insignificant number that would do this and do this in hiding. I think this has been grossly exaggerated. Of course, the issue is something like buffalo and all that, and the meat can be, confused between them. So I don't think that we should consistently labor this point. The Muslim community will not be averse to banning of beef or to stop beef. There will, of course, always be rogues, and they have to be tamed.
But the question to you both is that what is your own community saying to you? Mr. Jung, do you feel that...
Oh, very interesting. We have received a lot of phone calls, all of us. Much more than me, Saeed, I think, has received a maximum. And I would imagine 90 to 95% Muslims are favorable of this initiative. They have repeatedly told us that this is a wonderful initiative. It is much awaited. We are very happy you're going and we wish you luck. There is no dispute on that. And by the way, this is not just you and me. We have spoken to clerics. We have spoken to clerics in Maharashtra, in Gujarat, in the Northeast, in Hyderabad. And they have all said that we support this because what the Sangh has said is completely rational. I mean, how can you criticize somebody's religion? That's non-kosher. What objection can you have on beef? And likewise, what we said on jihad and dharam sansad and so on, who can object? So the initiative has to be taken. It has to be taken. We have to give them confidence. We have to have faith in what we are trying.
And General, to you, is your own community, our Muslims, what are they saying to you? Do they say to you that you're selling out or you've sold out?
Well, what Najeeb said, 90% approved of what we did, but 10% were very vitriol and very caustic. And as I told you, they're accusing us of interests other than of the community and things like that. But these are people who we really shouldn't bother about. We should bother about the majority opinion, and the majority opinion is very favorable to the the conversation which we are having for peace and amity.
I think we'll have to leave it there. But thank you all for joining me today on the Print Debates. Gentlemen, Najeeb Jung, General Zameeruddin Shah, and Saeed Shervani. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jyoti.
Opportunity to discuss this issue and to take it forward, like you said, on this very, very important topic. Thank you all.